Hello everyone, quick message. We've set up a channel in the Discord in the description where you can send us your clips so we can use them in our content. We'll be asking for specific clips such as, I don't know, Rengar E Flash for instance. And you can send it, and instead of the editor having to go and fetch that clip, he already has it. It will make it easier for him. Your name and maybe summoner's name, if you don't hide those, will be in the video and in the description. And there's also gonna be a giveaway because that will help us so much. So obviously I need to give you something back to you guys. So there's gonna be a giveaway. The more clips you send that are helpful, the bigger chance you have to win a coaching session. Every month there's gonna be a giveaway. Thank you for your support. Enjoy the video. I know it has been delayed by 1 week. I'm sorry. This is partly the reason and a bunch of other reasons, but we made it better to make it up for you. Enjoy. If it's your first time watching, you should watch the first guide, as you need everything to understand it perfectly. If you're rewatching the guide, there's timestamps in the description where you can jump to the parts you like.
Hello everyone and welcome to episode 2 of our epic guide series. Today we're learning how to build. We'll go over how to choose the right runes and the right items every game. If you're just here for the builds, here is what we will have in the end. I called it the build tree. We're gonna see how we got to it, and then I'll give you a bunch of tips to use your items properly. Items give stats, you know this already. But there's stats we need more than others on our champion, Rengar. We want health, movement speed, attack damage, and cooldown reduction. We also want a bit of lifesteal and a bit of attack speed. Health synergizes with W. You heal more if you have more health. Movement speed synergizes with your jump range. The more movement speed, the farther you jump. Attack damage synergizes with your bone tooth necklace and also the attack speed from Q. Cooldown reduction synergizes with your whole kit, because the more cooldown reduction, the more good stuff you can keep throwing at the enemies. Your kit literally allows you to negate every single bit of damage you received in the past 1.5 seconds, unless you got chain CC'd or one shot. And this is why Season 11 feels so hard, because every champion and comp either chain CCs or one shot. So our build needs to adapt way more than in Season 10, because we didn't have to think about this back in the day. Now let's really get into how Rengar works in order to understand how to build on him. You want a really big power spike early game. That's where you want the most damage. That's where you want to be the most efficient, because if you snowball early game, then you're strong enough to dominate the mid game and keep people from showing up by themselves, or else you get picks all the time. You are free to go on a side lane, push the wave, and move out because you're stronger. In order to have a really strong early game and even a strong mid game and late game, and in order to be generally strong in the game, we want to reach power spikes when we reset. We want to reset for power spikes, not because we have to, but because we can get the power spike. If we have to reset, then we should get the biggest power spike that we can afford. This is, for instance, how you buy boots in a really smooth way. You don't buy boots randomly, you buy boots when it perfectly fits into the power spikes that you're gonna get. Mythic items are a trap. We shouldn't rush a mythic item. Mythic items scale off of other items, and usually their passives or actives scale off of AD and other stats. So it's really bad to buy them as our first item. We could get a bigger power spike if we buy them later. This is especially the case with Stridebreaker. Keeping all of this in mind, here's how we use this build tree. The goal is to reach core build in the smoothest way possible. If you want more raw damage, you rush Essence River, but if you want more AoE and clear, you get Stridebreaker after Sheen. Usually in my games, I get Dirk, Whip, CDR boots, Sheen, and then build based on the gold I have when I back. I like going into Stridebreaker before ER for the cooldown and the AoE damage. I will emphasize a lot on the word smooth. I've had games where I had my core components, then had enough gold to one-shot ER and Serpent's Fang, so I bought those, because that is such a smooth power spike, even though it delays our mythic. Then, when we get our mythic, we get another big power spike. Keep in mind that if you buy an item, you sacrifice every other potential item you could have bought. This is why crit builds are very unilateral. No HP, barely any CDR, no movement speed, no AoE, only raw damage really. After we reach core build,
We keep doing the same thing. We figure out which items we need and we buy them in the smoothest way possible. In the mid-game, you want to buy items or components every time you base, well, or die, so make sure to base or die with the right amount of gold. If you don't have enough gold, unless a big fight around an objective is happening, keep getting gold without basing or dying. If you have a big power spike coming up, play safe, get it, then go ham. Now onto armor penetration items and the build tree. Your Dominic Regards is less effective the more HP you have. This is due to its passive. But if you are Glass Cannon and they are very tanky, this item gives you a lot of damage. This is why we build Glass Cannon into tanks, crit, and tanky into squishes. We kill squishes in one rotation no matter what. But with Dominics and crit, we can kill tanks in 1 or 2 rotations as well. Auto reset with Q on every Q when building crit, unless QEWQ, the fastest combo you can do, kills them no matter what. Cyrilda's is great. It gives 15 extra AD and 20 extra haste for the cost of 20% crit and 5% penetration if we compare it to LDR. That extra AD helps with damage on abilities or items, but crit only helps on autos and Qs, and crit is very coin flip until you get a lot of crit chance. If you're full AD, you might want to go Black Cleaver into Titanic Hydra. With Stridebreaker and Titanic, you apply Black Cleaver to everyone. Essence Reaver is a great item on Rengar. It's one of the most efficient items on Rengar. You want to proc it off cooldown, it adds hundreds of damage to your combo every 1.5 seconds. You can win a lot of fights just by kiting and getting multiple procs in a fight. And this is what you should do often, is go in and out and try to get as many procs of Essence Reaver as possible. Dirk becomes Serpent's Fang very often, because Sterex and Shield Bow exist, but also because champions like Set or Janna or Lulu also exist. But with Janna or Lulu, we actually want to go Edge of Night sometimes, if we have to engage. If we don't have to engage, if we have a Malphite or a Galio, we go Serpent's Fang against those champions, because they won't cancel our jump, because our team will burn the crucial cooldowns that they should save, the enemy should save to cancel our jump. So we can use Serpents to completely deny half their kit. If you want to go Collector and crit, you can, but make sure your playstyle fits though, and get picks with your damage. Just try to play in a more Assassin's Creed way. Now we have other mythics. We could go Duskblade for instance, but with Duskblade you never want to jump before they're in kill range. You never ever want to engage with Duskblade, but rather let your team dish their damage, soak key abilities from the enemy, and then clean up. If you engage, it will be either a montage play, or you will die in a very pathetic way. With Eclipse, you want to play around its cooldown a lot, and usually kite a lot and abuse the Omni-Vamp you get from it by constantly autoing stuff while fighting. Even if it's not champions, you can auto creeps, jungle camps, and lifesteal back up. The passive and the Omni-Vamp, if used correctly, will make the item really strong in a lot of situations. Now, Randuin's is a very powerful item if they have at most one AP champion. Jump, Stridebreaker, Randuin's on landing, WW out after 1.5 seconds. There's no way you die, and they will waste every ultimate and key ability on you, and they will be slowed, and if you get it 3rd or 4th, they won't have enough damage to kill you off one chain CC before your team arrives, because they won't be full build and very one-shotty yet. Titanic, you should abuse the cone of damage in teamfights, but also when wave clearing and pushing. The cone can kill minions behind the turret you are hitting, and applies Black Cleaver. Only get Sterox if there's no Serpent's Fang on the enemy team. It's a great last item if you went a non-crit damage route, because it keeps champions like Syndra or Zed or very annoying bursty champions from one-shotting you before you get the chance to throw WW after their burst. I hear this question a lot. Dopamine, why do you go Stridebreaker instead of Goredrinker? The answer is pretty simple. With Stridebreaker, you can use it on jump. You don't have to wait to take damage to use it. The faster you use it, the faster it goes off cooldown. And we also have a bunch of CDR, so using it soon will land us 2 procs of Stridebreaker per fight. Whereas with Goredrinker we wait, so we don't use it as fast, so then we get only 1 proc. Also, sometimes they will flash out or just use their escape. The Goredrinker won't even matter because we won't use it. because we had to wait to use it. With Stridebreaker, we can use our combo once we jump, and then if they use an escape, they're slowed, so we catch up to them. Basically, Stridebreaker just fits our trade pattern way more than Goredrinker. You could still go Goredrinker if they have a low escape team with like a lot of melee champions, and if you really need the sustain. Another reason I don't like Goredrinker that much is because it gives the enemy team incentive to buy anti-heal. They might not buy anti-heal if you only have, you know, a Stridebreaker, but if you have a Goredrinker on top, the chance that they buy anti-heal is even bigger. Also, ability haste has kind of diminishing returns. I mean, they made it linear, so the more ability haste you have, the less CDR you get. Getting 20 extra haste because of the mythic passive on Goredrinker doesn't really do that much, whereas 8% movement speed opens up so many options for us. One of them being selling boots for another item and still having decent movement speed. In short, go Stridebreaker. Your runes should fit the build you plan on going for. Here is the perfect rune page for my usual kind of build with Stridebreaker. We go Water Walking and Transcendence, because Transcendence, even though the level 11 buff is bugged, you still get 10 haste for free. And that 10 haste is very valuable if you don't have much haste yet. So that 10 haste at level 8, if you chose to skip CDR for a while and get a lot of components, is gonna help a lot. It's gonna help with your first ult as well, so your first ult will have lower cooldown. We get Water Walking because we fight a lot in the river around objectives, right? Around Drake, around Nash, around Herald, around Scuttle, and it gives us 1 AD per level and 25 movement speed. Again, it allows us to delay our boots and still be efficient in when we walk towards gank, when we try to fight. Basically, the sorcery rune tree gives us around 1k gold for free at level 18, and at level 5 it's around 300 gold for boots, 175 gold for the 5 AD that it gives us at level 5, and then the haste gives us 5 haste, which is like about 200 gold, a bit less. So it's like we get 700 gold for free at level 5 in the river, which is pretty cool. Now, you should go Conqueror, as other runes are kinda useless right now. If you go Stridebreaker, you don't need Alacrity at all, even for comfort, because you'll have the attack speed from Stridebreaker. So Bloodline is better, because you need some kind of lifesteal to be able to lifesteal off the waves and not have to reset every time you get damaged a little bit. If you wanna go Alacrity, I don't recommend it, but if you're going for Eclipse, for instance, you can go Alacrity, because you'll have Omnivamp already. Maybe you think you don't need Omnivamp or lifesteal, but it's because you're not abusing your champion and playing it correctly. If you get at the level of play where it matters, you will need lifesteal or Omnivamp. Now, if you're silver and you don't want it, I understand, you probably don't know how to use it. I don't like Ultimate Hunter because I abuse my downtime where ult is down to do a lot of useful stuff that I need to do my chores. So if my ult cooldown is lower, I will still do my chores and my ult will be up and I won't be using it. Simply because I play for tempo a lot and I try to really set up the map before going for kills. But again, at a lower level of play, you don't do this, you don't know how it works, so I understand if you want to go Ultimate Hunter. My runes are really the highest skill cap runes, the ones that enable you to outplay the enemies the most, but more easy to play runes and lower skill cap runes, you can find the pages on screen. Thank you guys for watching this video till the end. If you liked it, if you learned something, please leave a like as it helps the channel grow. You can subscribe and hit the bell. We'll be releasing one episode of this guide series every week, for a few months most likely, and the more far we get, the more in-depth they're gonna be, because the premise of the guide, remember, is to go from 0 to hero. Goodbye and good luck in solo queue.